Hello, welcome to everybody to today's session. Hopefully you can hear us okay. Yes, now we can see everyone joining. Okay. A smaller session today. Looking forward to it. It's a way kind of to get started, New Year and all of that. So welcome to the session. It's going to be about 10 items, and it's a summary of things that we look for, things that we see helping, and the history to it is I was asked so many times, just make it simple, tell me what to do, and we come up with these 10 items. So Kaiser and myself will take you through those today. To those that we know well, listen, Happy New Year, and hopefully this year will be as good or better than last.
Yeah. Jättekul att se alla här. Gott nytt år, och jag vet inte hur ni känner det, men jag tycker alltid att det är ganska trevligt. Jag tycker om julen, men när julen är över så är det skönt. Ja, men nu kör vi på ett nytt år. Och därför så känns det jättebra att just börja med det här lite mer övergripande webbinariet.
In December, a session we did in December, and it was a large enough 130 people or something in the live session. And then you start asking, what's the challenges? What do people see? And one big thing that came out was to be seen. It seems to be very hard to break through, and we all have this challenge. And we're going to come to some of the items there today on that especially. There are things we can do about it. We can actually get better at digital marketing and not make it so complicated. Hence, that's part of today's session. We can get better at giving offers that are easier to buy from, having decent follow-up. A lot of simple stuff, you know. Systemizing, it's the most important piece. Otherwise, we're always on this hamster wheel. So we have to try and systemize as much as we can and get the right tools in place. And it's pretty much in that order. It's never starting with two. The tools just help do more of what we want to do. Today's session, simple enough. Happy for any Q&A. It's going to be a small session because no real promotion. It's not even an alumni session. It's a little bit of a mix. So thanks for joining us. So we'll take questions as we go. Anything during the chat, and we have a few that come in beforehand, and we answer them as we go along. And then go through the schedule we have for January. And I even do the year schedule, doing the January schedule for that. Some of you may know us. Most of you, I think, do. The ones that see in the chat, actually, we know everybody. But those who don't, my name is Edward Nugent. I work with business design. So in other words, helping companies understand how do you set up your business online for success? What are the various components you put together? And we'll show you some of that simple versions here today. And joining me today is Kajsa.
Ja, och min bakgrund är väldigt handfast. Jobbat som marknadschef i andras företag, i egna företag för den delen. Har köpt väldigt mycket av marknadsföring, inklusive annonsering för många miljoner, om man säger så.
Yes. Before we start, there's a couple of things I want to mention. And actually, when we went through the session beforehand, I removed everything except one thing. And that's this. To remind ourselves of this, that people buy what they want, not what they need. And breaking that down into your business is quite important. What do people actually want? If we're only providing what they need, we often miss clients. Making it easy for someone to buy is selling what they want, understanding what they want. And I would urge everyone to just look at their business and see, okay, are we actually selling what they want? Is there a mismatch between what people are asking us and what we're selling? If there is, sales suffer. In B2B, it can be catastrophic. So understanding what this means to your business is really important. And this takes time. It takes effort, it takes work. It's not hard, but it is work. For anyone struggling with sales, this is what I would do, because it forces us to understand what do our clients want. forces us to have an offer in front of them that they want. Then they should buy it, right? Whereas if we don't have that connection, we often. So we all know that I think more than 90% of people here today are Swedish based and probably dominantly selling in Sweden. It is a tough market. The recession has been around, give or take, probably 3 years now. Yes, things are beginning to look brighter, but people are not opening their wallet. So slow. You have to justify the purchase. This is one way to do that. Help them justify it by providing what they want and understanding what they need. That's the one of the overriding ones I would have for today. I would consider what this means to you and your office. Okay, I'm not actually using it, I might. So it could be, I have a background, maybe that. It could be that the noise canceller is actually cancelling me as well. Maybe just do away from it. Things to consider as we go through this session. This session is going to be looking at this. I think it is, yeah, because I hear the mic as well, the background. So maybe turn them on off. What I'll do is, yeah, that's it. So, okay, so when you come on and off, I remind you to turn it on. This is just a summary. So we'll be actually back and forth. So Kaiser will be on and off here. Knowing how to engage customers using email, and I'm referring to email lately as a super tool for the simple reason you can use it for so many things. It's also one area that's the quickest to make sales on. I would say for 90% of companies, email should be your top 3 sales channel. Direct traffic, searching your brand, and email. They're the 3 categories that should be pretty much up there. How to get attention, be known, a few points on that, making advertising work. Getting better at buying digital services, having a game plan instead of just a list of tactics. Let's have a plan of action, and you systemize that. Systemization is the secret sauce because we cannot do everything, and we also forget stuff. We don't follow up. We think we do, but we don't. Systems do. A week, a month passes really fast. A system is already, if it's in place, is working away in the background. If it's left to us to send the mails on time and we're doing it manually, it won't happen. We always lose time. So systemizing here is vitally important. Now, I say this, and it's a more of a reminder for all of us. You know, when you're doing anything, the best time to start was, well, not today, it was before. Just like planting trees, you know, best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Because you get the benefit of it. Marketing is the same, and sales. Best time to start. But the second best time is now. It's too easy to say, actually, yeah, I should have started 6 months ago. I didn't. And then all of a sudden, another 6 months is gone. So the second best time to start is now. And January is a good time. We shouldn't wait for January, but it's a good time because most people are ready to start afresh. So embrace that, I would say. Because in 6 months' time, you can thank yourself. Before we start, digital tools, there's a lot of discussion, emphasis on it. We work a lot with it. I actually do a lot of stuff with digital tech, and I like it and all of that. But I'll be the very first to say that's not where the answers lie. We need to have the game plan first, and then the tools second. The tools help us do stuff, enables, makes us faster, quicker, better, all that kind of stuff. But we need to understand what we're trying to do first. And that's what these sessions are very much about. When we're looking at those that succeed, there's a few words that come to mind. And this is a word cloud I did just by putting in lots of terms. What comes out most? Frequency, consistency, systems, having a structure. And frequency means people see you often. There's good follow-up. Consistency, you have a similar kind of message. You're not trying to sell a different thing every other week or to a different target. Consistency. Systems means it's happening all the time. You don't get bored. You keep doing them. Showing proof that it works and being targeted. The mix of this is the crux of your business. When you look at purchasing, especially social, there's two things that matter enormously, and that is frequency and recency. Frequency is the amount of times I've seen it. Recency is when was the last time I've seen it. They matter most. The only way to do that is to be consistent and to be structured and to have a system. It'll win pretty much every time. So we start, number one item. It's the most boring item for everybody, and most people ignore it. And it's the target market. Who is it? And I actually came to the conclusion this week, one of the biggest problems we have here is the marketing books and universities, because their sole focus is on demographics, personas, distractions, to be honest. What actually matters here, if you're in a small business, is the needs and the pains of clients, and especially the pains. People react to them. People are drawn to them. You're much more likely to get a lead to put their hand up and say, I'm interested in something, if you're speaking to a pain they have. And I'll give you a very simple example of this from our own business in this case. We do an awful lot in email. So we did a session, Email for Sales, a webinar. So what do? I email lots of people. A lot of you here were probably at the session. I certainly got the invite and the alumni, but I do a lot of cold email as well. So I got a lot of other people coming into a session, which is about email for sales and the difficulty with it, right? So it means that people who entered that session were interested in email for sales, right? So it's a filter. So when we talk about email for sales, the people are interested. So that helps. When you have an offer at the end to help people with email for sales, well, it's on point. It's speaking to the people who have the problem or who are interested in email for sales. It's alignment. It's very simple. Now, to do it isn't that easy. It takes time and effort. We all know this, but it's a good example of speaking to pains. And we sold out. It was probably one of the best successes we had in sales last year. And it was somewhat accidental, I'll be honest. We didn't design it like that. It kind of happened. And you add pieces on. But speaking to the pains. Traffic. So how do we get traffic? We often spend a lot of time on this. And there's lots of ways of getting traffic. Search is one of them. SEO to me is overrated because it's one item. But when you're looking at search, you have brand search and you have keyword search. They're really different. Brand search, they know you already, they're looking for you. Keyword search, maybe not. They're looking for what pains them. Because what do people search for? Something they're looking for, they're actively looking for. I still remember the moment I realized this. And it's probably 16, 17 years ago when we were doing print and TV ads. And actually, I was in the Italian market at the time. And we realized that, shit, the world has changed. People are now searching for our product types. Instead of us putting ads in magazines and TV, search. And the match is there. It's really easy. I know a lot of us forget this, but this actually happened. Hence, this is where I started my journey on digital. It actually was with Google Ads. Some time ago, they were launched a couple of years at the time. But brand and keyword are very different. And then we've got all sorts of other options for getting traffic. Blogs is a good one because it talks about the pains, the content that people are interested in, which is also good for SEO because people type in looking for something and they get to your blog post. That's all about change. It's in the midst of change with all the GPTs that are out there now and OpenAI as one of them. Events. That's another way of getting traffic. So we do, I think this month we are doing 4 events. I'm just trying to think which the one, how many there were, but it is 4 webinars, live webinars this month. The reason we do live ones, people show up. Pre-recorded ones, people look at, but they glance, they don't consume. Live ones you do. So hence we do a lot of live stuff. Same as with our our current training programs. Everything is live. We've actually gone further and done it one-to-one because you get results. So it's a reason for doing things like this. But events, we use Eventbrite, do email, do ads, use landing pages. Again, you get traffic. And it's traffic based on pain points. So everyone can do this. Just takes a bit of structure and time. You also get direct traffic. People who know you type in your URL and find you. And then there's social. And that's one of the biggest nuts to crack. It's not easy because everybody is looking for attention there. And they're all basically waving their hand saying, see me. But about what? Hence pain points work. Talk about pains. If people have a pain, have a problem, that's top of mind. You speak about it, they're there. So you can make things a lot simpler by doing this. And then we have advertising. Lots of options with advertising. I just put 3 of them down here. They're the most popular. It is tough. I started in advertising. I learned Google AdWords as it was being developed. So every week or 2, there'd be new features coming out. Now, it's a bit of a mountain. So it's tough to make that work. Just for reference, I don't manage AdWords campaigns anymore. I'd use a specialist for that. I specify them, I talk to them, I work out what you should advertise, because this is where the work is. This is where the success and failure actually is not on the platform, it's usually off the platform. But I don't manage them anymore because it's so difficult and messy. That is getting easier now, actually, with some of the AI pieces. It's almost a matter of loading up images and text and pressing go, but you have very little control and it's tricky. So there's a lot of issues there. Hence, we're doing a session actually on advertising for sales and to avoid some of those traps because we hear it all the time. So in a race to get traffic, people try and shortcut to advertising when they're not ready. That we see. And it's expensive. And you need to try and avoid that. Do you have anything to add in this one, Kajsa, or we keep going?
Det här med annonsering, men jag tänker just på det här med att man faktiskt har en plan för annonseringen. Att det är väldigt lätt att bara slänga ut lite annonser, och det ser vi ofta. Man kan få till och med prata med någon på telefonen som har ett fantastiskt erbjudande att man ska få synas på Aftonbladet eller någon av de stora portalerna eller liknande. Jättebra, jättekul, och så köper man det. Men så tappar man att tänka, vad är nästa steg? Okej, vad ska jag göra med dem som har visat intresse för mig? Och att man då måste se det här med annonsering i flera olika steg. Från vad är det för budskap? Vad är det jag vill säga? Vad är det som är intressant för de som kommer att, för att jag ska få folk att kontakta mig? Och när de väl har kontaktat mig, vad gör jag då med dem? Men det här kommer vi återkomma till.
Because it's very easy to spend the money. And actually, in that sense, the ad companies have been brilliant. They're really easy to buy from, but not necessarily delivering results. We see that often. One part of this that's worth remembering is when we get a lot of these, I suppose it's requests in a way that I want to be seen. I want people to know I exist. I want people to know about our business, all that kind of stuff, right? The reference point we have here shouldn't be fame. It too often is. It shouldn't be to go viral. But the only headlines you hear are that. So you only hear about the ones that have gone viral. You only hear about the people who are well known. For most small businesses, it's a complete nonsense. It doesn't matter. You only need to be seen by your target market. And in most cases, that's pretty small and niche. And you're more successful doing that than you are trying to be famous. When I hear this TikToker had 1 million views, it's complete nonsense. If someone says I made €1 million in sales from it, they get my attention. To be honest with you, if they said they got 1,000 in sales, they have my attention, because it's not happening for the vast majority. For a few, it is. So we need to work out, what does it mean to us? And I would have it here that I'd start the other way. And I'd look at, how many customers do I want? Or do I need maybe? Might be different. And work backwards. Most companies don't need that many customers. So if you needed, let's say you needed 10 new customers, I'm just going to pick a decimal number because it's just easier to do the math. Let's say you needed 10 new customers. And your conversion rate from lead to sale is 10%, which wouldn't be great if they're good leads. So I need 100 leads. So how do I get 100 leads? Then I need people to convert. Depending on what they're converting into, it can be anything between 1 and 10%. So I need between 100 and 1,000 people to see the page. That's it. I don't need 100,000. I don't need 1 million. That's all I have to do. Now, when I say all, it's still not easy. For the advertising for sales event, for example, we will send out probably 10,000 emails. It'll take me, I'll probably spend about 2 to 3 hours doing this work. Editing, setting it up, and using Eventbrite for this sort of stuff. So I'll know then, okay, of them, between 50 and 70% will open. So I'm getting my numbers down. So I'm down to maybe, well, let's be harsh and say 1,000 of those are going to, actually, no, that'd be shocking, that. No, if we're sending out 10,000 mails, at least 5,000 are going to see the mail and read it, because our numbers are fairly strong. And of them, I know a certain number, so we're going to get about 100 of them sign up for an event. That's it. I don't have to do anything more. So what I'm trying to show here is everyone has some sort of sales pipeline or funnel. And if you work the other way around, you begin to see what our targets should be and how do we then go about it? What traffic do I need? Where is that traffic? What exactly is the problem people have that I'm beginning to solve? And you work your way back and you begin to see it gets manageable. We've structured it. Now I know the problem. Now I know who to speak to. Now I know how. And not get too distracted by the headlines. The stuff in the headlines doesn't really concern us. It's a distraction. It's too much of it. Engagement. This is where it's at. I've got traffic. I know who I want to buy from me, but I want them to put up their hand. So the analogy I use here is if you're in a room and your target clients are in the room, you want them to put up their hand to say, I'm interested in what you just said. I'm interested in what you're about to offer. So how do you do that in the room? What do you ask? Online is the same. Use the same type of wordings. You just have more tools. Whereas in the room, you've got your voice and you've got people to put up their hands maybe. There's a few other tool mechanisms. There's about 2 others we've used. Ones you can do online, vote with QR codes. It works really well. Mentometer, I think, is the company, this Swedish-based company that does that. It's really good. Pass out on clipboards, I've seen that. But the vast majority will just hands up. Online, you've got loads of options. And pop-up is one. I'm a big fan. For the simple reason, it gets noticed. And lots of companies don't like them, which to me tells me they don't like sales. They don't like leads. They prefer have a nice, clean website than have sales. And that's nuts in my book, because I'm not in the clean website business. You're in the business of selling whatever your product is. So why does it matter? It shouldn't. I think you put it well, Kaiser, in one situation we had where somebody was saying it gets in the way. I don't want that.
Precis, och det var just det att en form av pop-up där man kunde anmäla sig till eller skaffa mer information eller liknande. Och där då vi hade diskussionen just kring det här med att men den sitter i vägen, eller den stör, eller den är för stor, eller den är för grön, eller vad det nu var för någonting. Medan poängen det var ju precis det som var poängen. Att man skulle stoppas i sitt scrollande, att det var någonting som dyker upp som fångar blicken och som då också har ett intressant budskap, såklart. Att det var just det som var poängen.
Exactly. You want it to get in the way. If it's too subtle, it doesn't work. Actually, I did a session. I do a monthly one with pre-alumni, so 1 or 2 of you might be here. And I go through the different types. And the subtle ones, they don't work. We've done all the numbers. We've tested. It doesn't work. The ones in your face somewhat do. The message matters, though. This is where the traffic that comes to your site matters. It's one of the reasons I'm not a huge SEO fan. SEO traffic can be dirty, as in clean traffic. Let me go the other way. Clean traffic is traffic that's exactly on your target market. People with your need. Advertising is brilliant for this. This is why I love online advertising. It's super targeted. I know exactly who's going to come to the site and I'm going to pay for it. With SEO, you get people who are half matching, not exactly there. So the conversion rate's often less. So one of the things I really want to measure is, where does the traffic come from? What does it want? Because it's different. Direct traffic knows you already. Totally different. People who are searching for your brand know you already. People who are just browsing don't. So what do you put up in front of them? What's useful for them? And what's useful for you? There's two sides to it. So you have loads of options here. When we did the survey with the Swedish E-commerce Association, which we were the main financier of, this is what we found in terms of digital tools. Now, what this shows is the opportunity. I go this far over. I'll actually add these as well. It's fine. The stuff that people aren't using doesn't mean it's not good. Most people object to widgets and pop-ups. Widgets and pop-ups are probably the best way of getting leads. I don't know, and this is based on numbers. So why don't people use it? Mainly because they don't like them or they feel they get in the way. And that's a mistake. But it's a mistake that actually is good news for the rest of us. Because if everyone's using something, it's really difficult. Social, 20% are on social to try and get leads. It's tough because everyone is saying, look at me. So you have to be seen. It's harder. Go with the places that people aren't already. It's much easier. So it's worth bearing in mind. Quizzes, surveys, they're brilliant. They also work to the curiosity factor. In our session, actually, we have a session on the 22nd. We're going to go into a little bit on Timo. I didn't plan to, but I had a session yesterday with Krista, and we're going through some examples that he's done. And I said, that's the exact same as what Timo is doing online. Totally different example. And I know they have a bad name in Sweden, and I know most of us here wouldn't particularly like them and wouldn't buy from them. But my God, they're good at marketing. So let's learn from them. They don't care if it's a widget. They don't care what they say. They're not bound by the same rules. And some of the rules we put in place on ourselves, we're not bound by. We're actually handicapping ourselves. So I'd say try and step back from some of that and learn from as many examples as possible. And some of these, like Timo and Shen, they're 15% of the e-com market in Sweden. Now, it's a mad thing to be saying because what's the e-com market? But anyway, of the traditional e-commerce market in the country, they're 15% from nowhere 2 years ago. They're doing something right. And I know a lot of the stuff they're selling isn't particularly good, let's put it that way, or high quality. But there's a lot to be learned from. And there's a lot of tips that they have that we can actually improve in our own businesses. And getting out of our own way is one part of that. Follow up. There's no point getting leads. We're not going to make sales unless we have a follow-up plan. Email, it's the super tool. It's a channel we control and own. We can do whatever we want with it and no one can stop us. People can unsubscribe if we're not very good, if we don't suit. But otherwise, it's ours. Surveys, another super tool, because I can use surveys for everything. I can use it to get leads. I can use it for a quiz. I can use it for customer satisfaction. I can use it from a survey. I can even survey leads as to what I want to do next. So they're two super tools. And I'd urge most people to actually really look into how we can use them better. Social media for follow-up. Now, this is tricky. So I tend to have it as remaining top of mind. For anyone who's in business to business here, I would also do direct outreach, which is actually a form of email, except as person to person using another platform. Messaging. You've also telephone, digital meetings. And what you're trying to do is get people to buy into you. Now, I will say this. This is the narrative, the generic narrative, right? If you're really good at understanding client pains, buying into you matters less. You can sell cold. So, for example, if somebody has a problem and they feel you can fix it, they don't really care who you are. And this is how you can speed things up. Now, so this is why I'd be a bit wary of making the grand statement, buying into you before buying from you. Even though I made the statement and it's on the slide and everything else, there are caveats to it. There are shortcuts to it. The very first slide, or the first slide with what we should look at on people buy what they want. If you're selling what they want, they don't care really about you. You come a distant second or third, right? Which is good news. The alternative is that we have to make sure that people like us, want to work with us, and then buy from us. A bit slower. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying you can shortcut that one. Because as soon as you deliver what you're delivering, they'll begin to like you anyway. They'll buy into you then as part of your sales process. But they're paying you for you to do that. And I'd rather that path, to be perfectly honest. They're paying me to get to know me. Is much nicer than I trying to do all this follow-up for them to get to know me, right? And there's a way of doing that. Be easy to buy from. That's one of the ways. Are we clear or are we confusing? And all too often we are confusing. I give the example before here about analytics. I had a intern who was helping me understand and map the analytics market. Believe it or not, there's a lot of analytics companies out there. It's not just Google. There's hundreds. So we had a list of 100. And I was getting him to map them out for me, put them into the categories I had done. So basically get their name, the URL, category they're in, size, country, that sort of stuff. Right? And did a brief, did the first one, and then kind of off we went, you know. Half an hour later, came back in and says, I can't do this. I know I got slightly irritated. I'm not the most patient person. Got slightly irritated, like, what the hell's wrong now? You know, can't you just do it, you know? So I said, fine, let's sit down and we'll do the first couple together again. So I started on the list. So I clicked the first one and what business they're in. And an awful lot of words. I couldn't work it out. And I'm in the business. Turn to the second one. What exactly? Loads and loads of words. But what exactly are they selling? I don't know. Now, most of them ended up being more corporate. They were ticking a lot of boxes, doing a lot of things. But all they did to me was add confusion. What am I getting here? I don't know. Most B2B companies are in that category, that they end up confusing clients, being very difficult to buy from. Consumer companies tend to be cleaner and clearer. However, consumer-based companies tend to confuse by having too many options. Options lead to lack of sales. The other example I often give for consumer stuff is headsets. You know, the headsets, just like the ones Kaiser is using now, there are hundreds of different headsets. I couldn't believe the first time I looked at it. It's hundreds. And the guys were selling them, and they were giving lots of choice. Their sales spiked when they changed the whole website and says, here's the top 3. This basically the cheap, the expensive, and the one in the middle. And they rated them and said, here's the top 3. Sales went up. Much easier to make a decision. You're helping them make a decision. Clarity. And having the confidence to give them that clarity. And the more you know your business and the more you know clients, the easier that becomes to be clear. This is the question, and I know I'll come back to it often. This is what's in the top of clients' minds all the time, consciously or unconsciously. The more trivial our products, the more unconscious it is. So it's in the back of their mind, not thinking about it, will I buy this, or is it for me? They're just scrolling past or stopping is often the signals you'll see. So we need to be answering this question for potential clients. Is this going to help me or not? One of the companies we're working with, I don't see who's in the session today, so I don't know if they're here or not. It's an amazing company in Lund doing probiotics. And they have a probiotic, Gut Magnifique, if anyone knows them, that really works. It is not like Proviva. It's not like the standard off-the-shelf stuff. They've got clinical trials that prove it works to help people with different syndromes. So their main job is to try and help somebody who's got, let's say, IBS, as an example. They're always asking, is this for me? There's 101 probiotics out there. The vast majority of them are standard off-the-shelf stuff that don't have clinical trials. They do. So they have to work on, is this for me? Because that's what people are asking, or not. That's a more serious case. So you have to have evidence to show this does work. So everyone's asking these questions when they come to your website, when they're looking at your social content. Is this for me or not? The more targeted we are, the more we understand clients, the more we understand their pains, the more we speak to their pains, the easier it is for them to see it. So if we go back to the probiotic example, if we speak about IBS, someone with IBS takes notice. Of course they do. It's a shocking syndrome to have. This one might help me. Geez, that's brilliant. I look at that, right? But we need to speak to the pains of the client. Getting reviews. Asking for the reviews and recommendations. Some will happen, but unless we ask, most won't. Most people are happy to give a review and help us, but they buy the product, they use it, and they move on. So unless we remind them and say, how was it for you? Most likely, they'll give you a review if you do that. There's one aspect here, and that's also not to be forgotten, to take responsibility for consumption. Do people use your product or not? How can you help them use it and get the best out of it? What's the follow-up for that? If we do that, your chances of getting reviews increase dramatically. It's actually part of the process. If I use your product and I benefit, it's easy to then ask for a review. Simple. It's not a surprise. One of the tests we have on this, especially for scaling, is are we getting reviews or not? If the company's not getting any reviews, you have to ask why. Is there a mismatch? Is there something wrong with the product, the client? We're not asking. Because you can't scale if clients aren't happy. Otherwise, you're going to be in this lead gen hamster wheel and trying to convince people to buy. It's not a very good one to be on. We've got to get to the next stage. So I would like to spend more time on the after sale than I do in the pre-sale, because that'll lead us to new clients. We'll come to that in a second. Surveys. I know you do a lot within this area, Kajsa. It's another super tool.
Ja, förlåt Edvard, jag tänker, nu strular jag till det, men jag bara hoppar tillbaka till den här bilden som handlar om reviews, för jag tänker också tajmingen där, att när man frågar efter den här reviewen. Yvonne finns med här idag. Yvonne hade ett fantastiskt event här i höstas på Oscarsteatern, leddes av Ulf Elving, och med syfte att lyfta problematiken kring mental hälsa. Och du får korrigera mig här Yvonne om jag inte har uppfattat rätt. Ett fantastiskt antal deltagare på det här eventet. Och när frågar man de här deltagarna, vilken var din upplevelse av det här eventet? Och har man haft en fantastisk kväll, man är laddad, man tycker att man har fått med sig mycket. Det är det som är precis rätt tillfälle att faktiskt be om en review. Och när vi pratar om review här så handlar det inte bara om att fråga, ger du mig en 1 eller en 3 eller en 5, utan vad tyckte du, att man ger feedback och liknande. Väntar man en vecka så tror jag att man har tappat dels väldigt många som hunnit göra massa andra saker emellan och man kan få ett litet annat minne eller uppfattning av det här eventet. Frågar man dagen efter så är det fortfarande hyfsat aktuellt, men kanske ändå inte så aktuellt som det är precis den kvällen när man varit med om detta. Så bara ett exempel på hur viktigt det är när det gäller tajmingen också för det här med reviews just.
Yeah, exactly. It leads nicely into this one, because if you're doing a survey when someone buys, we'd often look at having 3. And this is specifically in e-commerce, you'd have 3. So when someone buys, how is the purchase process? And part of that is also to allay the fear, because when someone buys, there is a fear that maybe I'm being scammed, maybe this isn't really going to be what I want. The survey can help that. Then when somebody uses the product, you can do a survey about the use level. Did it work? Is it what you expected? Did you get the benefit? All that sort of stuff. And then we'd have an annual survey. So I would say every company should have a minimum of 3 in this case, as a way of working. Now we're adding in more in another case, because I want to see how well it's a product you use over a long period of time. So we don't want the surprise at the end. Yes, it was brilliant, or didn't work for me. We actually want that along the process as they're using it. So we're changing that. We're actually going to have even more surveys. And some people, some business owners object and say, oh no, this is too much. No one wants a survey. Our experience would suggest otherwise. Very strongly suggest otherwise. Another part of this is to stay top of mind in using surveys. But maybe you want to mention one here, Kaiser. We did a couple of annual ones, and we had one, I think it was something like 20% of all customers completed the annual survey. And this was hundreds, it actually was more, it was into the thousands of replies. It was quite shocking. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
Alldeles riktigt, långt över 1000 personer av någonstans runt 8000, vad ska man säga, nätverket, varav några tusen var kunder. Och precis som Edvard sa tidigare, folk faktiskt var väldigt glada, intresserade, ville bli tillfrågade. Det kan ju lite relatera till vad det är för typ av produkt man säljer också. Men framförallt så gav ju den här undersökningen inte bara klarhet i att X% tycker ditten och X% tycker datten, utan det gav fantastisk information att använda sig som content i annonsering, men också vid andra tillfällen när man pratar om sig själv, och kunna säga att nej, men 95% av mina kunder, de skulle rekommendera mig. 95% av mina kunder är nöjda eller liknande. Det ger en ett väldigt vad ska man säga, ett handfast material som inte går att ifrågasättas, för man har faktiskt genomfört den här undersökningen. Man har x 100 eller x 1000 personer som har svarat. 95% är nöjda. Alltså vilket fantastiskt budskap att ha i sin kommunikation på alla ställen som är möjliga, skulle jag säga.
And definitely in that case, I know there were extra sales made that more than made up for the cost of the survey. So you're getting a bank of content, you're getting a bank of reviews, and you're getting actually people paying you money once it's done right. So it's worth looking at this, not as a chore, but looking at it as part of your sales process as well. And this is not just a once-off, it happens time and again, we see this. With prospects, you can use surveys to remain top of mind. Challenges, what they need next. And then getting verified relative ratings. That's a slightly trickier topic for this session. But it's basically asking people, how is this product versus other products they tried before? And they are super powerful. It has a massive impact in terms of using that later in your sales pages, that you'll see it's better. And I go into this in some sessions. It's actually a big topic, but it's one thing to remember. If you're ever doing a survey, verified relative ratings is worth looking at, and it gives us content to help us. Repurchase and referral. Again, most need prompting. There aren't that many people who will basically try and help you sell more unless you prompt them. Most people, when you do prompt them, are quite helpful. So systemizing that. Repurchase is another one. There's lots of people who are ready to buy again, but just haven't, especially when times economically are a bit tough. You tend to postpone your purchases. You can bring that forward with prompting. So when we're systemizing this, your business design must do, I would say, 3 basic things. One is speaking to the target client. It sounds obvious, but so often we don't have the target in mind and we don't speak to them. We speak at them, we speak across them, we speak to peers. We don't actually speak with them. Help them answer this one question. Is this for me? That's the biggest question we can answer. And having calls to action, clear and reasonable calls to action to get people to the next step. When we look at in business design terms, I've showed this type of slide before. Again, this gives you a holistic view as to how your company works. We find this very useful because you end up getting a map of how your business works. And we get traffic. It goes to your site in this instance. Some people will buy. Some people will be considering. And those that are considering, you want them to sign up as leads, as prospects. You do an email sequence. And then some of them will buy. You then want them to review, have a survey, and others will buy later in the email sequence, and then you want others to repurchase. This is all that's happening in your company. And then you want referrals, and your customer survey should lead you back to getting new clients. This is the cycle you want. So instead of it being a cycle like add traffic to try and get people to buy, that's what most companies are focused on. And that is not a very nice hamster wheel to be on. This one is a much better one to be on. Your numbers are better. And then back. Because that can keep going. Systemizing. But it doesn't just happen, it takes a bit of work. It's not easy. I can tell you to just do this. You can very easily just be running around and being really busy. Not necessarily most effective. This side takes a bit of work and time and effort and thought consideration. But there's a lot more in this. This is maximizing your use of your ad spend. This is where advertising comes in. Once you have that working, then you can scale. Now, this is from the survey as well. So with 14% are basically happy with advertising. We hear horror stories every month. This is somewhat happy. It works, but I'm not sure if they're making any money from it. And not really happy. Not happy, so stopped. This is regular, and we see it all the time. So when you're doing ads, you have the advertisements themselves, you have landing pages, you have the call to action, you have the thank you page, you have the welcome mail, and you have an email sequence. This is what advertising is. Too many see advertising as just the advertisement. Too many agencies say, send me over your images and your text and I'll put an ad live for you on Facebook. It is, I would actually say, take the money. I would certainly go down to the pub and have a few pints instead, because at least I get something out of it. Unless we see the picture, we're gambling. So we have to try and put all that together. It's not easy, but advertising is getting tougher today. So scaling is getting tougher because too many people are competing. The advertisement engines are less inclined to care about you today than they were a couple of years ago. So we have that, and then there's obviously the follow-up, yeah. So we have the session, Advertising for Sales, on the 23rd of January. That's the classic alumni session. So 23rd of January on the Thursday, again, 15 to 16. So where we'll go through this, what it means, why many fail, how you can avoid those pitfalls, you know. So a requirement here is not what we do, but it's being good at marketing. And we can all nod our heads and say, yeah, it makes sense. So what are we doing about it? How much time are we putting into it? We have to see it as a core part of our business, not as an add-on. And answering this question, or helping clients answer this question, too many of us don't. Why should I buy from you and not all the other choices available to me? And there are lots of choices. The trap companies make here is they know their product is better. So they feel their clients must know their product is better. And the clients do not know the product is better. Fake news has gone way beyond news. There's a lot of companies promoting products that are not very good. We know this. We see it all the time. But who's going to win? The best product or the best marketing? Right now, I know where my bet is. It's on the best marketing. Because there's so much noise out there, especially for the small company. For the large ones, it's a different case. They've got a big brand. People know them. Small companies, they're not known. So we need to become known to our target market. Hence, the size matters. We're not going to be viral. Viral to us means being seen by our target customers. If that's 1,000 in a month, that's brilliant. But answering this question for them or helping them to do that. Great. We're pretty much on time, which is unique. If there's any questions or anything anyone wants to share, I want to go through the little bit of the schedule of what we're doing over the next couple of weeks. Actually, we're not doing the quarterly schedule. It's just the January one because we have a lot of different events planned. So if there's any questions or anything, send them in, or let us know here. And I want to leave with this message as well. Is how do we define our business? A lot of people define it based upon what they do. I'm in the consulting business. I'm in the business of selling books. I'm in the business of selling clothes. And I would say we should try and change that narrative and not define it based on our product and service, but embrace something else and say, we're in the business of marketing our business, because that's the game changer. Because if you think about it, then when you get up in the morning, what's your job? My job is to market my business. This is how you'll succeed. If you get up in the morning and say, my job is to produce more products, that's not going to help you sell more. And obviously we're tainted here. We're in the sales and marketing business. This is what we do. This is what we help companies do. But a lot of it starts with attitude and your starting point. So where's my starting point? If I'm knee deep in my product and service, it's harder to get you to market your business. It comes after. As I'd say, reverse that. Get into the business of marketing your business. It does change things. So for every day, how many hours is marketing the business? How many hours is working in the business? I know, actually, it's funny, just things come to mind and people you talk to. So one guy I talked to in the UK, just haven't talked to him in a year and a half or maybe two. And I always remember what he says to me. He says to me, my business changed as soon as I had staff. He says, I then got into the business of marketing the business and the staff can deliver. He says, the world changed. And it's quite an important part. Now, he triggered that off by getting staff. I'm working from there. Next sessions. The 23rd of January, we have an advertising for sales session. So we're going to deep dive into it and what it's about. That's my background. That's where I actually came from advertising. And that's where I started with online. So we'll do that. We also have the February session. That's why we have that in here. We're actually repeating the email for sales one. It's a slight variant on it. And that's the alumni for Thursday the 20th. It's one of our more popular sessions, so we're putting that in there as well. It's also one of the areas that most of us can do better, can do more. We have then an email, a session with Swedish E-commerce Association, that is getting leads and sales for e-commerce. And that's on Wednesday, the 22nd of January. So January is quite busy. I'm doing that one with Krista Max. Some of you might have been in a session with myself and Krista in October, and there we focused a lot on email. Here we've focused a lot on a little bit the bigger picture, from building your list, getting people engaged, emailing them offers that will sell. As I said in the email today, we actually were preparing that session yesterday. Some of these sessions do take more time. We don't just show up. And in that one, it was really interesting. We stumbled across something that he was doing with a company in Stockholm that I see exactly what I'm seeing Timo do. And we want to share some of that in the session, because there's so much more we can do that isn't just about price. You want to do something, Heather?
Nej, förlåt. Nej, vi kan ta bort den kommentaren. Jag tänker precis att jättekul, jättespännande. Det är ju helt klart så att du har kommit på någonting som fungerar. Men att jag mejlar dig separat efter det här mötet. Yep.
Yeah. Good. No, I'm just reading it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's good. Especially if they're paying you for this course. Oh no, sorry. Oh, wasn't about it. Okay. If you're running something like that, it's really important that the free one sells the paid one. And your objective, while I know the course is to help people, and it should do that, its also objective is to sell the next stage. And it's really important you have that in mind before you start, because it's too easy to give it for free, especially Facebook traffic, to give it for free, and then they've got enough, and then they're thinking, that's brilliant, thank you very much, that's fantastic, and that's it. But you need to pay the bills. So tee that up in the right way. Facebook traffic can be really good for converting. Tricky, there's a lot of freebies on there. And that's where just to bear it in mind. Again, Kazi will head back, refer back. That's us for today. There's one heads up. We haven't gone out with them yet, but we will. So we did this email for sales program. It was probably our most successful last year. And actually we did them all as one-to-one sessions. And yes, they take time, because it's either myself or Kaiser or one-to-one for an hour in each session, but you get results. And funny enough, I know this is probably not for here, but it's most people here know me, I think. I actually enjoyed them. I didn't think I would. I do a lot of group sessions, and I try not to go into these one-to-ones, but I've changed my mind. I actually quite liked it in October. And that was our test. Does it work on all of this? Can you scale it and all of this, because you're selling your time? So we're going to be launching them again to a wider audience. So that's happening, I think, as of next month. They are not free because it's a lot of work. And that one is email for sales. That will be out. Well, actually, we can take anyone from this session if they're interested in starting pretty much anytime from mid-January. It's good, because I know there was a few in the group who didn't want to do it in the autumn because they're too busy and wanted to start in January. So jump on that if you want to. We are doing a launch to a big audience, and they will fill up, because I have so many hours, and we've allocated to this, and we will roll them out. The other one that we are launching, this one won't launch till end of January, because we're doing it in conjunction with the event. So I'm getting a lot of people into an event who advertising is their problem, and we're going to go through why and what you can do about it. And then anyone who wants to take action with us can buy this session, advertising for sale. So you see the alignment there between problem, lead mechanism, event, sales? Now, everybody can do this. It takes time. We have been not as good at this as we should have been. We started looking at our own business in the autumn and says, well, there's easier ways. This works every time because you have an audience who've got a problem. So this will fill up. I know I'm doing similar with Krista, and we already set a cap there of 10. It was 8. We've actually put it to 10 because we have a few more coming in because we only need so many hours. This is happening during Q1. So if anyone's interested in that, you'll see advertising for sales. Actually, you can't even sign up. That's just for the event. So email Kaisa if you're interested in more details about the program. And we do these as one-to-ones. I tend to start off the first session and maybe the second session, and then Kaisa might do a session an hour and then back to me for an hour. So it's basically working out your business and what to do. So anyone's interested, just let us know and we'll take it from there. Otherwise, they'll be gone. And this is the alumni group, so it's a smaller group and you have a chance to join. That's it. Hopefully today was of value for you. That gives you an idea for things to look out for. And any questions or anything, just let us know. Happy to hear.
Jag tänkte också lägga till, glöm inte bort den där bilden. Vi har säkert visat den många gånger. Men den här som blir en karta över hur olika aktiviteter man ägnar sig åt. Hur allting hänger ihop. För att det är det i slutändan som kommer att ge den största effekten. Så ha lite det här med en karta. Ha det med er i bakhuvudet. Och så hoppas jag att vi ses här längre fram. Som sagt var, fler webbinarier. Och sedan kör vi också igång med de här programmen igen. I januari och februari. Och tack för alla fina och trevliga kommentarer.
Sorry, just finishing one thing. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's hard to get on the slide, but anyone's interested in that, just sign up for that event. It's actually a free event anyway, and then if you're interested, you can do more. Thanks for today, and we will see you again later in the month. Next time. Bye now.